So till now we have looked at the DUT part, the generator driver interface, and the TB top part. Now look at the one of the more important components of test bench, which is called scoreboard. So this is the declaration of scoreboard. These are the two mailboxes that we have discussed till now. The interface instance, the new function wherein we got the three handles, the interface instance handle, the generator scoreboard mailbox, the driver scoreboard mailbox. And this is the API, if you remember, which we had started in the TB top. Let's go back to that. So this is the one sb.startCompare, which was forked out. So let's look at the implementation of this. What it does is that this is a forever running. While one indicates it's a forever running block. So it means that it will keep running during the simulation and will keep looking for objects to come into the mailbox. So what it does is that, so we have created two handles of generator object, gen1, gen2, and in the while1 block, so .get is a keyword. So as we discussed, the pipe is, mailbox is like a pipe, and scoreboard is the entity which is sitting on the other end to receive the objects. Driver was the entity which was putting into the mailbox. Scoreboard is the one which is taking it out. So it waits for the first object of generator type to come into the first mailbox. That is the raw object, which only contains the inputs. So it takes that. It waits for the second object as well, because the operation that it needs to perform can be done in 0 time. So it waits for both entities to come and then performs the operation. So once it has the handles to both of them, the one which contains the only inputs and the one which contains the input as well as the outputs driven by DUT, it performs the operations on its own. Based on the operation that it receives in the first object, it performs the operation on its own. That is, if it is a 0 is an addition, 1 is subtraction, 2 is multiplication, and 3 is division. Based on the operation that it has received, it does operand 1 plus operand 2, or operand 1 minus 2, or into, or division. And if the operation is anything other than these, it displays an error that it's an illegal operation, because the ALU that we have only supports 4 operations: add, subtract, multiplication, and division. After this, after performing the operation on its own, it compares the result that it has created with the result that it receives from the second object of generator. If the two are not same, it says that it's an error, mismatch has happened, and the response that I have, that expected response, the response that I want is this one, and the response that I received from the DUT is this one. Else, if the comparison passed, that is, if result is equal to the one that is received from DUT, it says that comparison passed. And it keeps looking for this object from the mailboxes. Okay, so we have looked at a couple of, an important point here, that we have looked at a couple of entities which are forever running. Okay, like the assertions, the scoreboard. Okay, these are forever running entities which keeps looking for certain entities to happen, perform certain operations, and then give the, even DUT is a forever running block. So how does the simulation end? Okay, because the running time of simulation is decided by the driver. How many inputs do we provide to the DUT, this API, driver.startRun? These entities, the scoreboard and all, can keep running. If they do not receive any entity and the simulation completes, the simulation will end on its own. Okay, so that's how it works. And what we have done here is that this start compare has been called here, has been implemented here, has been called in the TB top, scoreboard.startCompare. Okay, so as soon as the driver creates an entity of generator, gives it to the DUT gives a result, the scoreboard is also ready to compare it, and it performs the comparison operation and gives the result, whether the operation performed by DUT was correct or not. So this is how the scoreboard works. So out of all the entities that the test bench has, like the generator, driver, interface, the TB top, only component left till now is the coverage, functional coverage. Let's look at that as well. So this is the implementation of coverage. Just like the assertions, constraints, we have given a small sample space, a small set of cover points and crosses for ALU implementation. the ALU DUT might have more assertions and cover points and constraints, but just like for constraints and assertions, we have given some examples and left to the user if they want to implement more based on their knowledge. Okay. So this is the cover. So let's look at the class first. So if you remember the TB top, we had instantiated ALU underscore CVG, which is the ALU coverage class. And this is the implementation of ALU coverage class, which is called ALU F cover, functional coverage. The data width is passed to this. It needs an interface handle that is passed. And the ALU cover group is instantiated. So as we have seen earlier, the functional coverage is written inside a cover group. Okay. And that cover group instantiation is done here. We'll look at the implementation of ALU cover group as well, which is done here. Let's first look at the class, the ALU functional coverage class, which instantiates the cover group. So this is that class which has a handle to the interface, has that ALU cover group instantiated here. And in the new function, we assign the interface to the one that we have, and the cover group is created here. Okay, so this is the instantiation of cover group. And this is like creating a actual handle of the cover group. So the cover group needs what? It needs a actual value of the inputs and outputs, basically all the wires that were driven on the bus for the last operation. Okay. So one thing worth noting here is that when do we sample the coverage? That is, when do we collect the coverage? We have decided that this is what we want to cover, and this is how we are going to cover. But when all do we cover? Let's say the user wants to run 100 different scenarios on the DUT. Out of these 100, it is also a decision taken by the user that when all do I want to take a sample of the coverage? When all do I actually want to check what has happened on the bus till now? So that can be done at any point based on the event. What we have done here is that we have created an API, which is a forever running API again. And this API waits for ALU enable to come. That's it. That means that every time, whenever a new operation is given to the DUT, this coverage class will take a sample of the last cover group. That is, take a sample of the last values driven on the bus. Let's say that 10 operations have to be performed on the bus, and the first operation has just been given to the DUT. That is, the ALU enable has been just asserted. And if this API has been called sample underscore coverage, this API will come here. It will detect that, okay, yes, ALU enable has been asserted. It will wait for 2 clock cycles. This wait is again because we know that the DUT is going to take 1 cycle to drive the output, and 1 extra cycle so that the TB samples the correct values of the outputs driven by DUT. We wait for the 2 clock cycles, and then we call the sample of cover group. So sample, as we have seen earlier, is the keyword which actually is used to call the cover group. So this cg.sample calls the cover group itself, and it asks to check the values driven by DUT and the test bench to see what new has happened. Okay. And finally, it displays how much coverage has been achieved till now. This is like the accumulated coverage. So this get instance coverage is a keyword, is an API, inbuilt API provided in the cover group. Calling cg.getInstance coverage tells the accumulated coverage that we have achieved till now. Okay. And this sample coverage, if you check, in our case, we have called it in the forked out thread. Just like the scoreboard.startCompare, we have called the ALU coverage.sample coverage and forked it out. Because it's a forever running API, we have called it in the TB top and left it. So it's like called once and running forever. It waits for ALU enable every time a new operation comes. So no matter how much time does it take for a new operation to come, as soon as it comes, the scoreboard is ready to sample it. Okay. So now we have seen that how ALU functional coverage class works and how do we sample the coverage. That is, how do we take the coverage. But let's see what all coverage points have we declared. So that is there in the ALU cover group. So this is the ALU cover group, which takes input as all the 7 arguments. 4 of them input to the DUT, 3 of them output. The operation select, first operand, second operand, the output given by DUT, overflow flag, result flag. Okay. We don't need the ALU enable because the sampling point of this is ALU enable itself. So that means that we will come here only when the ALU enable is high. So what all have we written here? This is called the name of the cover point. Okay, it is called label. So CP operation select. So what it does, cover point is the keyword. Cover point operation select, because we know operation select is the wire name that we have used. So it checks. So just writing this much indicates that it will try to cover all the possible values of operation select. Since it's a 2-bit variable, it will try to cover all 4 possible values. So the coverage of only operation select cover point will be 100% only when all four values have been performed once by the DUT. That is when the stimulus of addition, subtraction, division and multiplication have been provided to the DUT at least once. This cover point will say that I have been covered completely. Okay, so it is like 25% weightage to each operation. Just like that, we have functional coverage for op1, because we know that it's an 8-bit coverage and it might not be actually meaningful to cover if we just write it like just like operation select, just write op1. So that means it will create 256 bins, one for each possible value of that variable. Since it's an 8-bit variable, just writing this much would have meant that we want to actually have 256 bins for this, which might not be meaningful. So what we want to do is we have created a couple of bins here. It says that did it ever happen that operand 1 was 0? If it was 0, cover it. Okay, just like that, did it ever happen that the operand 1 was between 1 and 32? So that means if any value of 1 to 32 comes for operand 1, this bin will get covered. Just like that, any value between 33 to 100, if it is generated by stimulus, this bin will get covered. And any value more than 101, this dollar operand means till the end. Since it's an 8-bit variable, the maximum value will be 255. So any value between 101 to 255 will be used by this cover bin. So we have decided to cover the operand 1, all possible values of operand 1 in just 4 bins. Instead of actually using 256 bins for this, we have covered it in 4 bins. So that means each bin has a 25% coverage. And this cover point will be covered 100% when all 4 bins get covered. Just like operand 1, we have a similar cover point for operand 2, which says that if value 0 comes, cover one of the bins. If value 1 to 32 comes, cover the other bin. 33 to 100 the third bin, and any value more than 101 will be covered as the 4th bin. So this is a way. This again is implementation specific. It is possible that the user might want to cover all values of operand 1. In that case, they can simply write it just like operation select, that way. Or if they want to cover the important values, and the important values again might change based on the user requirement, they can cover those specifically. Okay. And then we have another cover point for overflow. So that means this cover point will check whether overflow was 0 and 1 during the simulation. Since it's a single bit, and just declaring it like this creates 2 bin for it, because it can have 2 possible values, 0 and 1. Okay, and this cover point will be covered 100% when it covers both values, 0 and 1. Just like overflow, we have one cover point for result valid. Now these are the cover points that we have declared. So it means if we just look at it again, all the cover points, that means that we are looking at the input values. We are concentrating more on the stimulus that is provided to the DUT. Did it ever happen during the simulation that all different types of operations were performed on the DUT? That is covered during by operation select. Did it ever happen that all values of operand 1 were given to the DUT to check that DUT works correctly with all operand values? That is checked using op1 and op2 cover points. Then did it ever happen that the DUT gave an overflow flag? Did overflow ever happen during the simulation? If that happened, yes, then this cover point will be covered. And did it ever happen that the DUT completely performed any operation? If yes, then result value would be high. There is another point worth noting here is that it is possible that these cover points might get covered more than one. These cover points might get hit more than once during the simulation. Because every time when a DUT performs an operation, result value would be high. So in that case, what happens is that the coverage percentage does not increase every time, because the result value has already been covered. The coverage count will be increased. If we look at the simulator, there is a window which shows the functional coverage and how many times that bin was covered. The count of that bin hit would be increased every time a result valid comes. So that is how it works. Okay, so these are the cover points which work independently. Then there is another keyword that we have seen earlier. They are called crosses. Okay, cross means we will try to cover intersection of two possible values of two different variables. So cross one, first cross, this is the label of cross. This is the keyword cross. It says cross all possible values of operation select with all possible values of operand 1. It means, did it ever happen that addition was provided to DUT, addition operation was supplied to DUT with operand 1 value as 0? This is like checking some corner cases. Did it ever happen that? Did it ever happen that division operation was supplied to the DUT with operand value as 200? So this is the purpose of this cross, checking the values like we just explained. Same thing with operand 2. Did it ever happen that division 2 was provided to the DUT with operand 2 as 0? Or with operand 2 as 150? Or with any value between 0 to 255? Overflow flag. Did it ever happen that any operation was provided to the DUT and overflow happened? So this cross would actually mean, because this operation select is trying to cover all possible values and overflow flag says that did it ever become 1 during the simulation. So that means that we are checking that did overflow happen for each operation during the simulation? Did overflow happen for addition, subtraction, multiplication and division? If it happens for all 4 of the operations, this cross will say that I have been covered completely. So this is an important point here. If you just take notice of this, that this overflow flag, just checking the overflow flag would mean that it is becoming 1. Okay, overflow happened during the simulation. But for which operation? This cross is checking that overflow should happen for each operation. Okay. So just like that, we are checking that did operation select with each operation select R valid happened or not. If you check the R valid implementation, R valid was simply saying the result valid. So it means it is saying that for each operation, for each type of operation that was provided to the DUT, did the DUT complete the operation correctly? And then there is final cross which is between op1 and op2. So it is like checking that all possible values of op1 and all possible values of op2, were they ever intersected with each other, like 0 of op1 and 255 of op2, 100 of op1 and 200 of op2, like that. Okay, so these are some set of functional coverage that we have provided with our test bench. The user can create more because we are sure that the ALU has a lot more. The user might want to cover a lot more than this. This is just an example for this. Okay, so this is the functional coverage. Now let's go back to the top module again to just go through the components one more time. So this is the top module of the test bench, wherein the interface, generator, scoreboard, driver, the DUT, functional coverage and the TB top have been included, and the interface, DUT and TB top have been instantiated. Just these 3 components need to be instantiated because the TB in itself will instantiate all the internal components, and we have provided the clock here. Okay, and the TB top, inside the TB top we have seen that we instantiate the internal components of test bench, like the ALU coverage class, the 2 mailboxes that we need, the driver class, scoreboard class. After instantiating all of them and after creating handles for all of them, we start a couple of APIs that we know that we need to use during the simulation. Driver.startRun will provide stimulus to the DUT. SB.startCompare will perform the comparison operation on the data provided to the DUT. ALU coverage.sample coverage will actually start sampling the functional coverage. So these are the things in program. Then we went through the generator, which contains all the data types of different variables that we need. Driver, which randomizes the generator, drives the values on the wire, takes the output from DUT, provides all that is required to the scoreboard. Interface contains clocking block, mod port, assertions and declaration of wires. Scoreboard, which performs the comparison operation and notifies about the result, whether it was correct or not. Functional coverage, which tells how the coverage is sampled and what all is sampled and how it is sampled. Okay, So this is about the coding